In October of 1990, Kim Starla was a director of a shelter, and she held a conference in one of her shelter rooms where she fatally injected into the stomach 4 kittens, 1 dog, and 1 cat in hopes of igniting people to adopt more pets. We've always been told there's a pet overpopulation. PETA, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, called this an act of courageousness. So in other words, my speech is on pet overpopulation, and when I went to do the speech, I was going to talk about how it impacts our society, but I found that there could be another side to this coin. I don't know if you guys have ever visited a pet shelter, but it's kind of dark, and you wish you could help all the pets in there. I have a pound puppy, and it's just really heart-wrenching. It's hard to go into because you just think, man, we're so responsible for, you know, who might be being put down. You want to do something, you want to make a difference. But I found out on the internet, there's internets and books and TV and magazine articles, and I found out there is information that could prove that pet overpopulation might be a myth. In the research that I found that 4 to 5 million dogs and cats are put down each year. There's 165 million pets in our homes, and 20% of those pets in our home are adopted from shelters. If we increase pet adoption by just 3%, we could make a difference of eliminating putting down pets altogether. And when I say pets, I mean dogs and cats. One of my resources that I found the most influential was a book called Redemption: The Myth of Pet Overpopulation and the No-Kill Revolution. It's written by Nathan Wingrad, who is a director of the SPCA, which is the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. He's also an executive director of the Tompkins County SPCA. He was a former criminal prosecutor, a graduate of Stanford Law, but he wanted to pursue his passion and his wife's passion to save animals. Wingrad's research and his information, the data, comes from very reliable sources: the American Vet Association, the Pet Animal Hospital Association, the Pet Food Manufacturers Association, and our latest census. The history of how some of our Humane Society groups started was with a man named Henry Bird, and he was known as the Great Meddler, and his passion was for saving animals, stopping abuse of horses, and the dog pound would pay kids to go out and collect animals, and he wanted to put a stop to that because basically the dog pound would just put down all the animals. So Henry Bird was the founder of the American Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the ASPCA, and he actually got laws made that would prevent the cruelty to animals and haul off people that were abusive to be prosecuted. Once Henry Bird died, though, the ASPCA accepted a contract from New York to run the dog pounds, and there was no adoptions at that time, so basically the people that were made to save the animals actually just started killing the majority of the animals that they would get from the streets. But in 1910, the ASPCA and the American Humane Association adopted 3 ideas by educating the public about long-term commitments with animals, began offering adoptions, and they had gas chambers instead of drowning and beating animals to death. So by 2008, though, the ASPCA and the AHA admitted that if we increased pet adoptions by 3%, we could have put an end to all the killing. So they were there and they admitted that that would solve the problem. But instead of acting on that, they blamed it on lack of funds. But there are many shelters that have many millions of dollars worth of assets. In fact, the Massachusetts SPCA has over $100 million in assets. So if shelters aren't going to go outside to create more adoptions, if shelters don't have a foster care program for kittens and puppies, if dogs are cage crazy because workers aren't allowed to socialize with them, and and they don't have a behavior modification program in effect. If working with rescue groups are discouraged because pet overpopulation is their main focus. So if the shelters are not utilizing those three or four things, plus if they're not aggressively trying to reunite dogs and cats with their families, then pet overpopulation really isn't a problem. It's the shelter. The buck stops with the shelter's director, and it means there's a lack of leadership, there is a lack of accountability, and the shelters have lost their mission. There's been several shelters that are successful at reducing their death rates. That's Charlottesville, Virginia, Reno, Nevada, Tompkins County. They all reduced their death rates by over 50%. So plain and simple, it lies in the shelter's hands. So if pet population, overpopulation is your concern, you can write your congressman, you can ask questions, you can vote differently to make an impact, you can do things to help solve this problem. And one final note is October is National Adopt a Pet from Your Shelter, so adopt one today.